We're going to go over the study guide. So number one, we have a cube. Now in a cube, all the sides are the same. We have 5, 5, 5. So to find the surface area, you find the area of one of the sides, of one of the squares, and that's 5 times 5. And that will give you 25 centimeters squared. And then what you do after that is, if it's a cube, all of the faces are the same, and there are 6 faces, so that means that you just have to take the 25 and multiply it by 6, and you get the surface area is 150 centimeters squared. That's the surface area. Now, to find the volume, remember the volume for a prism is always big B times H. However, the big B is just the square, so whenever you have a rectangular prism or a cube, you just multiply the 3 sides. So it's 5 times 5 times 5, and that will give you 125 centimeters squared. Okay. So that's number one. Now let's do number two. Number two, we have a rectangular prism. For this one, though, since it's a rectangular prism, all of the sides are a little different. Okay, so this was a 4, this was a 2, and this was a 7. Now, here you have 3 types of rectangles. The rectangle in the front and the back match, the rectangle on the left and right match, and the ones on the top and bottom match. So you have 3 different rectangles. Okay? So rectangle 1 is equal to, let's do the right side first. That's 2 times 4, and that's 8. However, you have the right and the left, so you have to take the 8 and multiply it by 2. And that gives you 16 centimeters squared. Area of rectangle 2. Okay. Area of rectangle 2, let's do the top and bottom. Let's do 2 times 7. And that gives me 14. And remember, there's the top and the bottom, so I have to do 14 times 2. And that is 28 centimeters squared. And in the area of rectangle 3, it's going to be 4 times 7, and that is 28, and then I have to do 28 times 2, since there are 2 of those rectangles, and so this gives you 56 centimeters squared. Okay. And then now what you do is you have all of the faces for surface area, you are just going to add all of them together. It is 16 plus 28 plus 56. Okay, and the answer should be 100 centimeters squared. Okay. So that's surface area. Now for volume, remember if it's a rectangular prism, all I have to do is multiply all of the sides together. So volume is equal to big B times H. Volume, the big B is 2 times 7, so it's 2 times 7 times the height is 4. Okay, so that gives you the volume is 56 centimeters cubed. So now let's go ahead, turn to number 3. Number 3 is a triangular prism. Most of you have seen this one in class, but for those of you that might have been absent, I'm going to go over it again. Number 3, you have a rectangular prism. Okay. And you have the dimensions of all of your sides there. Now, remember, whenever we're doing prisms, your base will always be the, whenever it's a triangular prism or an octagonal prism or hexagonal prism, your base will always be the shape that is not the rectangles. So here I have 3 rectangles and I have 2 triangles. Now ask yourself, how many of those rectangles are the same? Well, let's look at my triangle. My triangle has sides 3, 4, and 5, right? If this is 5, this is 5 here. So that means that all of the sides of the triangle are different. That means you're going to have 3 different rectangles. So that means, just to verify, if you have a scalene triangle, that means nothing's in common. You're going to have 3 different types of rectangles. When you have an isosceles triangle, 2 of them are going to be the same and 1's different. And if for an equilateral triangle, all 3 are the same. So if I do this here, the area of rectangle 1 is equal to 4 times 8. And that gives me 32 inches squared. Remember, this rectangle here on the bottom is 4 times 8. Okay? Then the one on the top is 5 times 8, and that gives you 40 inches squared. And then on the left, it's 3 times 8, and that gives you 24 inches squared. Okay? So remember, surface area, I defined the area of all of the surfaces, so we found the area of all the rectangles. Now let's do the triangle. The area of the triangle is equal to 1/2 times base times height. So in this problem, it's equal to 1/2. The base is 4, and the height is 3. Okay? So that it's always where your 90-degree angle is. So your area of your triangle is 6 inches squared. But since you have 2 of them, I'm going to multiply it by 2. So 6 times 2 equals 12 inches squared. Okay? And then so to find the total surface area, I am going to add everything together. The surface area is equal to 32 plus 40 plus 24 plus 12. And that gives me 108 inches squared. Okay. Now volume is big B times height. Now, big B is the area of the base, right? So we already calculated the area of the base. The base is the triangle, so look back at your work here. The area of the triangle is 6 inches squared. So for big B right there, I am going to put 6 inches. Okay? So big B is 6. And now the height of the prism. Remember, we're doing the height of the prism. So don't pick 3 because you think that's the height. Just because it's up and down does not mean it's the height. What you have to do for your prism is you have to turn it over so that the triangle is on the bottom. And then you're going to look at the height of the prism. If I turn this prism over so the triangle is on the bottom, the 8 would be the height. Okay? So the volume is 6 times 8. So the volume is equal to 48 inches cubed. Okay. So that's how you do number 3. Number 4 is going to be the same. So let's go through number 4. We just have a different type of triangular prism here. But it kind of works the same way. So they give me the height as 3, 8, this is 6, and this is 5, and 5. Now, for this problem, I know that there are 3 rectangles again, but since it's isosceles, and this is 5 and 5, I know the rectangles on the right and left are going to be the same. So the area of rectangle 1 is going to be 5 times 6. 5 here and 6 here. That gives me 30 centimeters squared. However, since this is 5 and this is 5, that means I have 2 of them. So I'm going to do 30 times 2, and that gives me 60 centimeters squared. The area of the rectangle on the bottom is different, so I have area of rectangle 2 is equal to 8 times 6, and that gives me 48 centimeters squared. Then I need to find the area of the triangle. The area of the triangle here is going to be 1/2 base times height. It's 1/2 times 8 times 3. 3 is the height of your triangle. So this is going to be 12 centimeters squared. And then I'm going to multiply this by 2 since I have 2 triangles. So 12 times 2 is equal to 24 centimeters squared. Okay. And then to find the volume is equal to big B times H. So I already calculated big B in this problem. Big B is the area of the base, so that's 12. I'm going to move the 12 over. So it's going to be 12, and the height is 3. Because remember, sorry, it's not 3. It is 6. Because remember, you have to turn the prism so that the triangles are on the bottom and top, and the height of your prism would be 6. So your volume here is 72 centimeters cubed. So if I do number 5 now, actually I did 5 in class, so I'm actually going to do 6. 5 and 6 are the same exact problem. So if you get one, you'll get the other. So I'm going to go over number 6. Number 6, you have a triangular prism again, but they give you different measurements this time around. Okay. They give you, this is 16, this is 24, and this is 10, and these are the same. Okay. So this is an isosceles triangle again, which means that 2 of the rectangles are going to be the same. So my first rectangle is going to be 24 times 16, and then 24 times 16 is equal to 384 feet squared. I have 2 of those rectangles since they are this is 24 and that's 24, so it's 384 times 2, and that gives me 768 feet squared. The area of rectangle 2, which is on the bottom, is going to be 10 times 16, and that is 160 feet squared. And then I have to find the area of the triangle. Okay. However, right now, as it is, I do not have the height of the triangle. So remember, how do I find the height of the triangle? Well, I'll draw it in. Okay. If this is 10, this gets cut in half, and that's 5. This is 24. And so I could go ahead and use Pythagorean Theorem to find the missing side. Okay? So this becomes 5 squared plus b squared is equal to 24 squared. So that becomes 25 plus b squared is equal to 576. I subtract 25 from both sides, and I get b squared is equal to 551. I square root both sides, and b, we'll estimate it to around 23.5 feet. Okay? So that's just an estimate right there. I rounded it. So now we can find the area of the triangle. The area of the triangle is equal to 1/2 base times height. So it's equal to 1/2. Big B is 10. And the height is 23.5. Okay. So I get that the area is around 117.5 feet squared. However, there are two triangles. So what I have to do is I have to multiply the 117.5 times 2. And that is equal to 235 feet squared. So now I can find surface area because surface area is the 768 plus the 160 plus the 235. So surface area is equal to 768 plus 160 plus 235. Okay. And so total surface area will be 1,163 feet squared. Now volume is pretty easy. It's still a prism. So volume is equal to big B times H. I found the area of the triangle. It's right here. It's 117.5 feet. That's the area of my base, so that goes into big B. And then the height of the prism is, if we turn the prism over, it would have a height of 16. Okay? So I would do 16 times 117.5, and that gives me 1880 feet cubed. Okay? So that's how you do number 6. Let's go on and do number 7. Now number 7, okay, so number 7, I'm not going to draw that up here because that's kind of hard to draw. But if you count how many sides there are, you would see that that figure has 10 sides. So it's a decagonal prism. So that means I have 10 rectangles going around the object, right? So this is number 7. The area of a rectangle is going to be 24 times 4. And 24 times 4 is 96 inches squared, and I have 10 of those, right? So my total surface area for the rectangles is 960 inches squared. Now, you have to find the area of the decagon, and we should know how to do this problem. We've done it many, many times. The way we do it is we start with 360 divided by 10, that gives me 36. 36 divided by 2, that gives me 18. Okay. So I know if I draw my triangle out, this is 18 degrees right here. This is your 90-degree angle. Remember that if this is 4, I cut it in half, and that makes that a 2, right? And then so you're trying to find the apothem, because the formula for the regular polygon is 1/2 AP, right? And then so I'm trying to find this x here. So I have to use my SOHCAHTOA to see, to find x. So if I have this as 18, the 2 is my opposite and the x is adjacent. So I'm going to write tan 18 is equal to 2 over x. Okay? And then if I multiply both sides by x, I get x tan 18 is equal to 2 and I divide both sides by tan 18. And so on my calculator, I do 2 divided by 18 tan equals, and I get x is equal to 6.1. We could round that. X is equal to around 6.2 inches. So now I can find the area of the decagon. The area of the decagon is 1/2 AP. So my apothem was 6.2. And the perimeter, now the perimeter, if the decagon has 10 sides, and each side is 4 inches, I do 10 times 4, and that will give me 40 here. Okay. So my answer here is going to be around 124 inches squared. Remember, I have 2 of the decagon, so I have to do 124 times 2. And that gives me 248 inches squared. Okay. So now I could find surface area, since I'm just going to add 248 to my rectangles. So surface area is equal to 960 plus 248. And so 960 plus 248 is 1,208 inches squared. So that is my surface area. And then to find volume, it is big B times H. And so the resulting volume, remember, I already have big B. Big B is the area of your base. And I found the area of the base when I did 1/2 apothem times perimeter. So the area of the base is 124. So I'm going to plug 124. And if I look at the height, I know the height. Remember I said, turn the prism over so the decagon is on the bottom, and your height would be 24. Okay. So the volume is 124 times 24, and that gives me 2,976 inches cubed. So that's number 7. Number 8 is almost exactly like number 7. You just have a different shape and different number. So number 8, I have a pentagon, a pentagonal prism. Okay, and so if I look at that pentagonal prism, I see that I will have 5 rectangles going around. So the area of the rectangle is going to be 5 times 6, and that will equal 30 feet squared. However, since I have 5 of them, 30 times 5 is 150 feet squared. And then I have 2 pentagons. And remember, the way we find the area of a pentagon is the same as the way we find an area of a hexagon or a decagon. We're going to start with 360 divided by 5, and then 360 divided by 5 is 72, and then 72 divided by 2 is 36. So I know my triangle, when I break it up, this will be the 36. And if I know that one side is 5, right, I'm going to cut this in half, and this will be 2.5. And I'm trying to find x here. So now the 2.5 is opposite, the x is adjacent, so I'm going to do tan of 36 is equal to 2.5 over x. Multiply both sides by x, and get x tan 36 is equal to 2.5. I divide both sides by tan of 36. And I get x is equal to 3.4. It's around 3.4. Okay. So now I can find the area of my pentagon. Its area is equal to 1/2 AP. So the apothem is x, and that's 3.4. And the perimeter, if one side is 5 and there are 5 sides, it's 5 times 5, so it's 25. So the area of the pentagon is going to be 42.5 feet squared. However, I have 2 of them, so it's 42.5 times 2. And that gives me 85 feet squared. So my total surface area is the area of your rectangles plus the area of your pentagons. So it's 150 plus 85. And 150 plus 85 is 235. So the surface area here is 235 feet squared. Now, the volume is just big B times H. I already found big B. Big B was 42.5. It's the area of one of the pentagons. And then what I do is I'm going to turn my... Oh, it's actually already there. The height is 6. So the volume is equal to 42.5 times 6. Okay. So 42.5 times 6 is equal to 255 feet cubed. Okay. So your two answers here are 235 feet squared for that surface area and 255 feet cubed for the volume. Okay. Now, number 9 is basically the same thing, except for number 9 you could actually use your 30, 60, 90 properties, so you don't have to actually so you could just use the fact that it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So let's look at number 9. Now, number 9, you have a hexagonal prism. So first, I know that I have 6 rectangles, and all the rectangles are the same size. So the area of a rectangle is 5 times 2, and that is 10 feet squared. And then 10 feet squared, 10 feet times 6, because there are 6 rectangles, is 60 feet squared. Okay. Now I'm going to find the area of the hexagon. So it's 360 divided by 6, that gives me 60. And 60 divided by 2 is 30. So that makes it a little bit easier because I know this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And if this is 2, then that means this is 1. Okay. And then how do I go from 30 to 60? I just multiply by root 3. So 1 times root 3 is right there. So my apothem is just root 3. So the area of the triangle, the area of the hexagon is 1/2 AP. So it's equal to 1/2 times root 3 times the perimeter of the hexagon. If one side is 2 and there are 6 sides, your perimeter is 12. And so your answer here is 6 root 3. However, I have 2 of those, so it's going to be 6 root 3 times 2, and it's 12 root 3. That is the area of my of the 2 hexagons. Okay. So surface area, I am just going to go and add up the rectangles and the pentagons. So the rectangles is 60 by 2 pentagons is 12 root 3. Please do not combine that. That is your answer. You cannot combine a whole number, and a radical. Okay, so that stays separate. So the answer is 60 plus 12 root 3 feet squared. Okay. The volume is equal to big B times h. Big B was the area of one of the pentagons, and that is 6 root 3. So do not use the 12 root 3. It's the 6 root 3. I only need one of the areas. So the volume is 6 root 3 times the height of this. Remember, you have to turn it so that the hexagon's on the bottom, and the height is 5. Okay? So here, when you have a radical times a whole number, you could actually multiply the whole number. So this is 30 root 3 feet cubed. Okay? Okay, so let's do number 10. Number 10 is we have a pyramid this time. Okay. So 10, we have a pyramid. I'll do my best to draw the pyramid. Okay, so we have a square pyramid that has 10, 10, and the slant height is 13. Okay. So I know that I have 4 rectangles, and I also have a base. Okay? So the surface area, the area of one of the triangles is 1/2 base times height, so it's equal to 1/2 10 times 13, and that gives me 65 meters squared. However, since it's a square pyramid, that means all of the triangles are the same. So I'm going to do 65 times 4, and that gives me 260 meters squared. And then the area of the base is 10 times 10, which is 100 meters squared. So the surface area, I'm just going to add the 260 plus the 100. So surface area is 260 plus 100, and that gives me 360 meters squared. Okay. Now the volume. Okay, when it's a pyramid, it's no longer big B times h. Your formula is 1/3 big B times h. Okay. Now, we have the area of the base already. It's 100. However, this pyramid, we're missing the height. Do not think 13 is the height. 13 is the slant height. When you do the height in volume, they're always talking about the height from the top directly down to the bottom. Okay? So what we have to do is we have to actually use Pythagorean Theorem to solve this. So what we're going to do, and you could actually see on your paper, it's better than what I can do. They kind of drew in a little triangle for you right there. Right? So what I'm going to do to find this slant height is I'm going to use Pythagorean Theorem. If it's 10 all the way across, this is 5 and this is 13. So I know to find this is going to be a squared plus 5 squared is equal to 13 squared. So I have a squared plus 25 is equal to 169. I subtract 25 from both sides, and you get a squared is equal to 144, and so a is equal to 12. Okay? So my height is 12. So volume is equal to 1/3. Big B is 100, that's the area of the base, and the height is 12. Okay? So your volume is 400 meters cubed. Okay, so now let's look at number 11. 11 is actually kind of just the reverse of this one. In number 10, they gave you the slant height, and you had to find the actual height. For number 11, they gave you the height, and you have to find the slant height. But you actually do the same thing, you just do Pythagorean Theorem to find the missing side. So for number 11, you have a pyramid there, and they give you the actual height here is 8, and they say this is 6 and 6. So to find the surface area, I need to find the area of the triangles. I don't have the height of one of the triangles, right? But what I could do is I could make a triangle here. Because see, I'm missing this slant height. I need that height to find the area of one of the triangles. That's what I'm missing. I'm missing that missing height there. Okay. So I know I'm going to cut this in half. I'll cut the bottom one in half to make this 3. That's 8. And then so we need to find what the missing side is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use Pythagorean Theorem. Now remember, what I'm trying to find is the hypotenuse this time. So it's going to be 3 squared plus 8 squared is equal to c squared. So 9 plus 72 is equal to c squared. And so I get 81. No, sorry. 8 squared is 64. Okay. So I get c squared is equal to 73. I square root both sides. And I get c is equal to 8.5, or it's an estimate. Okay. Okay, so if c is 8.5, then I know I can find the area of that triangle. It's 1/2 base times height. The base is 6. The height is 8.5. Okay. And so the area is equal to 25.5 inches squared. Okay. Now the area of the base is equal to 6 times 6, and that is 36 inches squared. So the surface area, I just add, oh, one thing that I forgot to do, sorry, let me backtrack. It's 25.5, and what I have to do is multiply this by 4, because there are 4 of those triangles. So this is 102. And then I do the area of the base. The area of the base is just 6 times 6, and that is 36 inches squared. So the surface area is the triangles plus the square, so it's 102 plus 36. And 102 plus 36 is equal to 138 inches squared. Volume, it's a pyramid, so the volume is 1/3 big B times H. I already found big B. Big B was 6 times 6, that's 36. It was right here. So it's 1/3 times 36, and they gave you the height in the problem, so it's 8. So the volume is equal to 96 inches cubed. Okay. So that is my answer for number 11. For number 12, we have a cylinder. So for 12, I have a cylinder. That is 15 and 4. So the surface area, all I have to do is remember this formula, or actually know how to derive it. Remember, it's the circumference times the height plus 2 of the areas of the circle. So it's equal to 2 pi 4 times 15 plus 2 pi 4 squared. So this gives me 120 pi plus 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 2 is 32. So my answer is 152 pi. And don't forget your units, centimeters squared. You need to put centimeters there. Okay. The volume for a cylinder is still big B times H, right? Big B in this case is pi r squared. So remember, because you only need one of the circles, right? So big B is equal to pi r squared. Big B is pi times 4 squared. So big B is equal to 16 pi. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'll plug it in right here. V is equal to big B times H. And that is 16 pi. And the height is 15. Okay. So 16 times 15 gives you 240 centimeters cubed. I am going to skip 13 because 13 is the same exact problem. Just make sure that you cut the diameter in half when you do the radius. Now let me do 14. So 14, I have a cone. It has a height of 18 and a radius of 8. Now the surface area of a cone is pi RL plus pi r squared. Now, look what happens. They do not give me the slant height for this problem. That's what L. L is the slant height. And they actually don't give that to me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Pythagorean Theorem to find the missing height. Okay. So that's 8 squared plus 18 squared is equal to c squared. Okay. So I get 64 plus 324 is equal to c squared. I add 324 plus 64, and that gives me 388. And then the square root of 388 is around 19.7. So I could plug that in for the slant height now. The surface area is equal to pi, the radius is 8, my slant height is 19.7, plus pi 8 squared. So this gives me 157.6 pi plus 64 pi, and then I add those together, and that gives me 221.6 pi centimeters squared. The volume, now whenever you have a cone, the volume changes. It's not longer big B times H, it's 1/3 big B times H. Remember, your pyramids and your cones are going to be 1/3. So it's equal to 1/3, What is big B? Big B is just pi r squared. So big B is equal to pi 8 squared. So big B is 64 pi. Okay. So this is going to be 1/3 times 64 pi times 18. Okay. And so the volume should be 384 centimeters cubed. I am going to skip 15. 16 I'll do in class. So 17. Now 17 is a really, really easy problem. Do not get this wrong. 17, are the two prisms similar? So remember, they're only similar if the ratios are all equal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 18 over 24. Always match the small with the small, medium with the medium, and big with the big. 18 over 24. 6 can go into both. 6 goes into 18 3 times, and 6 goes into 24 4 times. And then I have 6 over 8. 2 can go into both 3 and 4. And I have another 6 and 8, and that's 3 and 4. So they are similar. And the scale factor is 3 to 4. Okay, so let's do number 18. Number 18 was what we just did in class. So it says the surface area of two similar solids are 441 and 225. Okay. So if the approximate volume of the smaller solid is 250, what is the volume of the larger solid? Now, so I am going to have a squared over b squared since we are talking about area. And then it's equal to 441 over 225. I square root both sides. Now, first check that if these are whole numbers. If they are whole numbers, you could just use the whole numbers. If they are decimals, then that's the one where we keep the square root sign. Okay? So if you put this into the calculator, I'll see 441 square root is 21. And 225 square root is 15. So I don't need to do that fancy 3/2 exponent or 2/3 exponent because it already simplifies. If it already simplifies, it becomes a much easier problem. So it becomes 21 over 15. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the volume of the small. Okay. Note that the large is on top and the small is on bottom. Okay? So let's actually do V large because I want to keep large on top and small on the bottom. V large is equal to A cubed over B cubed. Okay? So in the problem, they gave me the volume of the smaller solid is 250. So it's going to be V large over 250 is equal to A is 21, so it's 21 to the third power over 15 to the third power. And then I multiply this out. And so if I work this out, 15 cubed is 15 times 15 times 15, and that's 3,375. So I'm actually going to simplify it first so that you understand what's happening. So I'm just going to work out what 15 cubed is and what 21 cubed is. That's 9,261. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cross multiply now, and I have 3,375 V large is equal to 9,261 times 250. And that gives me a really big number. I divide both sides by 3,375. Okay. And the answer for V large is equal to 686 centimeters cubed. Okay. Now let's look at number 19. 19 is the one where we have to do a little of that, where we have to kind of do the trick, okay? Now, number 19, they give you the ratio, the volumes. So I know that a cubed over b cubed is equal to 3 over 375. And note that this is small and this is the large. So I cube root both sides. And if I check the calculator first, I do 3 to the 1/3 power. And it gives me a decimal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the cube root. So this is a over b is equal to the cube root of 3 over the cube root of 375. Now I'm going to do surface area of small over surface area of large is equal to a squared over b squared. However, in the problem, they give me the smaller surface area is 4. So this is going to be 4 over SA large. And this is going to be equal to, A is the third root of 3. But I'm going to square that. And B is the cube root of 375, but I'm going to square that. I'm going to cross multiply. So I get, I'm going to continue here. 4 cube root of 375 squared is equal to the cube root of 3 squared SA large. I divide both sides by the cube root of 3 squared. Cross this out. And now, remember, how do I enter this into the calculator? This is 375 y to the x 2 divided by 3. Remember, it is always power over root. So it's a power of 2 and a root of 3. The fraction is 2/3. So I'm just going to go ahead and put how you enter this into the calculator. 4 times 375 y to the x, open parentheses, 2 divided by 3, close parentheses, equals. Okay? And then you're going to do divided by 3, y to the x, open parentheses, 2 divided by 3, close the parentheses, equals. Okay? And so if I do this, I'm doing it right now, I get my surface area is 100 feet squared. Okay? Now, number 20. Number 20, they're talking about capacity. So remember, capacity is volume. So here, what you have to do is, it says a cylindrical thermos has a radius of 2 inches and 5 inches high. It holds 10 fluid ounces. To the nearest ounce, how many ounces will a similar thermos with a radius of 3 inches hold? So here, the height is actually extra information. We don't need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the radius. So my scale factor is 2 to 3. But I know I'm comparing volumes here. So what I'm going to do with this, it's going to become, so my scale factor, A over B, is equal to 2 over 3. But remember, since we're doing volumes, I need A cubed, B cubed. And A cubed, B cubed is 2 to the third, 3 to the third. 2 to the third, 3 to the third is 8 over 27. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. And I'm going to say 8 over 27 is equal to, 8's the smaller, 27's the bigger. The smaller one holds 10. I need to know how much the bigger one holds. So if I cross multiply, this becomes 8x is equal to 270. I divide both sides by 8. And if I divide that, 270 divided by 8, I get around, x is around, and the question says round it to the nearest ounce. So I'm going to round this to 34 ounces. Okay. 21 is the same exact question. 21, they're asking for how much cereal can it hold, so it's talking about capacity. So if the small box holds 18.5 and the bigger box is scales by a factor of 1.15, your scale factor is going to be 1 over 1.15. And since I'm talking about capacity, I actually want to do 1 cubed over 1.15 cubed. Okay. And I'm going to set that equal to the amount of, the small one can hold 18.5, and I'm trying to find the large, so I just cross multiply. 1 cubed is 1, so this becomes x is equal to 18.5 times 1.15 cubed. And if I do that on the calculator, I get 18.5 times 1.15 cubed. And so the bigger box can hold 28.1 ounces of cereal.